Couples risks not being able to stay together in the UK if they do not follow government rules on how the salary fits into the financial requirement. This part is absolutely crucial because fulfilling the financial requirement is a must to get the UK spousal visa approved. Hi, I'm James. I'm a PhD researcher. I will show you how to work out your salary to see if it counts towards the financial requirement or not. Doing this correctly will really help you fulfill the UK spouse visa requirements and ultimately help you stay together with your partner, what website says. It says that if you apply for a family visa as a partner, you and your partner usually need to prove that your combined income is at least £29,000 a year. This is called the minimum income requirement. And then we have raw number. Even though it sounds easy and simple at first, when you look into it and you start to realize it's a little more tricky and complex when you're filling the actual forms. And the real question is, what part of your salary actually counts? The information about a number alone that was easily found is not enough. And just a reminder, there's a free resource. The link is in the description below. So here's the salary breakdown. When we talk about salary, we're actually talking about two different numbers. First of all, the gross salary, and then the net take-home pay. Understanding the difference between these two numbers is absolutely crucial to ensure that you don't make any avoidable mistakes in your application. If you understand this properly, then you are more likely to make a compliant UK spouse visa application that fulfills the financial requirements. Understanding minute details can make a huge difference. So if you take a look at the example of the bucket, this bucket, let's say, is the salary, the gross one. That is the numbers that are on paper and on your contract. But by the time we take our salary home, some amount of the taxes are cut. If you say that these small buckets are the taxes that get cut from the salary, the amount of money that we take home from the pay is actually quite smaller than the gross salary on paper. These are the two different kinds of salary. What we're talking about is gross salary. The number is always going to be greater than the take-home salary. It's basically when we minus the taxes and other automatic deductions from the gross salary that we have what is known as a net take-home salary. Here is an example. For example, a person A, let's say, earns about £30,000 a year, and the person does not have to pay tax, like everybody, on around £12,000 a year. So the remaining amount, let's say something like £17,000, is something that they have to pay tax on. The income tax is 20% generally in the UK. So when you pay that tax, you have around about £3,000 or something to pay. The national insurance tax is another tax that you have to pay, and that will be around about £1,000 or something. And when we deduct all of these different taxes from the gross salary, the actual take-home salary is only going to be about just over £25,000. So we have what we call like the twin numbers. This makes things a little bit more complicated. And the twin numbers are other cases that look similar to what we've described in person A's case, where the take-home payment, net payment could be similar, but there's just a difference of £1,000 or so. Let's take an example of another person, a person B. Unlike person A, they earn £28,000 on paper and in their contract, before deductions, before income tax and before national insurance. And when we take all of these out of the gross salary, what ultimately remains is just over £24,000 per year. This take-home net salary for person B is similar to person A, almost similar. Person A takes about £25,000 plus a year. Person B takes about £24,000 plus a year, both of them after all the deductions. It looks like the cases are the same, but then we need to look at the bottom line, if it's really the same or not. Figuring out this correctly can make or break your UK spouse visa application. The bottom line is basically what the UK government means whenever it says something. Oftentimes this confusion is because we think we are understanding what the government means by certain things, but when we're actually feeling the heat and the stakes are high and you start getting confused and you start misunderstanding what the UK government really means by the same thing. We've done a lot of research to find the explanation for the UK government itself, and this is what they have said to basically clarify the confusion. Salaried and non-salaried employment. Category A, with current employer for 6 months or more, person residing in the UK, where the applicant's partner or the applicant, if they are in the UK with permission to work, is in salaried employment at the date of application and has been with the same employer for at least 6 months prior to the date of application, they can count their gross annual salary towards the financial requirement. In doing so, they must have been paid throughout the period of 6 months prior to the date of application at a level of gross annual salary which equals or exceeds the level relied upon in the application. Gross income from non-salaried employment will be counted on the same basis as income from salaried employment, where the person has been with the same employer for 6 months or more at the date of application. There are several parts, like for category A, when you have employment for 6 months or more, that it talks about being a gross salary that counts. If you look at another statement by the government, it also says that the gross annual salary at the date of application is the one that counts. And of course, there are other parts of this financial requirement, which I'll go into in future videos. You need to look at whether you've had the job for 6 months or not, but we're not going to talk about that right now. We're talking about the total and what amount matters in terms of gross and net salary. In this sense, person A, who receives 30,000 on paper in their contract, definitely qualifies. And they qualify from this based on whatever from the two documents that we've seen, because the gross salary is above the 29,000 per month that the UK government requires. It qualifies even if the take-home salary of person A is somewhat similar to person B. On the other hand, person B does not qualify because the person does not meet the minimum requirement of 29,000 when it's the gross salary. So figuring out this correctly is very important for your UK spousal visa application because it can either make or break your case. This information is crucial also for person B, not only for person A, because it helps person B figure out that there are more puzzle pieces for them to fit in terms of filling out their application process, and they need to uncover and understand other sources of income. In both senses, this information is quite helpful. It helps both person A and person B figure out their application process. There's a free resource in the link below. The link is in the description below. Next is what are called puzzle pieces. The UK spousal visa is one of the hardest applications in the world. Now that person B, as mentioned, has figured out that their gross salary amount is not sufficient, they need to start looking at other pieces of the puzzle. Here's another piece. This is what the UK government says. Proving your income depends on how you got it. You may be able to use your savings instead of income to show that you meet the requirement. Basically, this shows that salary is not the only way you can prove or meet the financial requirement. There are other ways to meet them too. Salary is one part of it, and it's not the only way. The next puzzle pieces that person B needs to find out are, what are the examples and what do they need to show? According to this puzzle piece, savings is one of them. So today we looked at salary as part of your UK spousal visa application process, how important it is, how you can check if your salary qualifies or not. And we also broke down salary and we looked at the obvious difficulties, especially that of the twin number complications, what the bottom line is, and how to navigate the puzzle pieces. Now, you must be thinking, what about the other parts of your UK spousal visa application? There are more preparation strategies like this, and we will be dealing with another one of them in the next video. See you there.